Tough, durable, and comfortable. Greg Stegman muttered these three words before a packed room that was forced to lean forward. A large man with a small voice, Greg was famously shy and socially awkward. Yet with his company, aptly named Stegman Clothing and Uniforms, rapidly expanding, CEO Ahante Royerden convinced him to address department heads and elaborate on his vision for its clothes and the company's future. Following these three legible words, Greg mumbled a few more half-hearted sentences and then sat down. As always, Ahante took the reins and implemented what became the TDC tests, phases in both design and production pipeline that expressly considered how tough, durable, and comfortable that item was. Thanks to Greg's fine eye for industrial yet comfortable clothing and Ahante's strategic vision and passion, Stegman Clothing and Uniform became a company well known across the empire for its wonderful blue-collar clothing and remains in family hands to this day. Born in 2615 to young parents, Greg Stegman grew up in the underground tunnels of Uriel in the Oberon system. His family clan was relatively small and politically weak, which relegated them to the coldest of tunnels. Darian, his father, hand-delivered crates, while Bess, his mother, worked in tunnel maintenance. One day she slipped and slid down a small gravel embankment on her knees. Her cheap pants with built-in knee pads shredded in seconds. Greg helped treat her nasty wounds, then tried to patch what remained of her threadbare pants. Though he wasn't able to salvage the clothes, his mother encouraged him to keep trying, and instead of playing, many times he would be checking on the family's clothes for wear and tear and fixing what he could. After recovering from the accident, Greg's mother hopped a cargo ship, as she often did, to find better fortunes for the family. She crewed many haulers and sent a steady stream of meager remittances and passed through the Uriel as often as she could. For Greg's birthday one year, his mother surprised him by bringing him along on a run to the Loke in the Idris system. She not only wanted him to see that a wider universe existed, but she wanted to see if he could take to hauling. Instead, he fell in love with the Tannies, Locke's beautiful capital city. Experiencing an economic boom fueled by the Aegis factories that were fed on government contracts at the time, blue-collar jobs were plentiful, and wages were considerably higher than Uriel. Greg convinced his mother he could do more good for the family there, and months later, he moved into a small place in the Tannies after landing a factory job. His mom helped him get situated, then hopped a hauler as always, leaving him on his own. Greg had turned just 17. Ahante Royerden came from a family who helped colonize Loke, and then survived the devastating orbital bombardment during the First Tavaran War. After the war, her family built a restaurant on the Lost Quad, Tanny Central Plaza. It became immensely popular and allowed her family to open multiple franchises, expanding their business interest into real estate. Ahante was managing that very restaurant in 2633 when she noticed a young man spending a long time on the plaza. Every day he would show up and eat a meager meal and sew patches into clothes, watching people pass. Supremely curious, she introduced herself and treated Greg to a dinner at the restaurant. Greg explained his journey to the Tannies and how he patched the clothes of coworkers to make extra credits to send to his family. Touched, Ahante offered him a daily free meal, which Greg accepted but insisted he could repay by earning his keep, upkeeping on the outfits of the restaurant staff. Once Ahante saw his sewing skills, she knew his talents were being wasted in a factory. She convinced him to quit his job and hired him on the spot to make uniforms for her restaurant. Ahante set him up in a small storefront her family owned. There he created uniforms for her businesses and several other businesses in the area, while also doing repair jobs for factory workers, as Greg insisted. His talents and competitive pricing were only possible due to Ahante not charging him for rent, quickly turned the shop into a raging success. Greg soon earned enough to move his parents to the Tannies and help work with him. While Greg was content working out of the small shop, Ahante pushed him to focus his talents on designing clothes rather than simply repairing them. The two had grown close over the years and fell in love. They would remain partners in life, love, and business for the rest of their lives. In 2643, the operation moved to a massive factory to focus on manufacturing and became officially named Stegman's Clothing and Uniforms we know today. By Ahante being the CEO and using her deep connections with Loke's business community to land uniform contracts, steady growth continued until 2650, when Aegis came knocking with a contract that sent Stegman into the stratosphere. This allowed Ahante to scale the business again, opening their first factories outside of the system of Idris, and begin their pivot to selling to consumers. By early 2700s, Stegman's items would be a staple on job sites across the empire, and through brand recognition, become a juggernaut in the industrial clothing space. Greg and Ahante retired in 2704 to focus on her declining health. While building a manufacturing empire, the couple also raised 6 kids and trained them to take the reins. The quality, comfort, and durability of the clothes of the TDC kept Stegman strong for decades. But growth eventually stagnated, then declined. In 2840, Nasia Finley, CEO and great-granddaughter of Greg and Ahante, attempted to revitalize the company by expanding into industrial armors. After a lengthy and expensive R&D process, focus groups hated the armor, calling it clunky, and even saying uncomfortable. Knowing the armor would need a significant rework, Nasia shuttered the division instead of sinking more capital into it. Through the endeavor, Stegman's was brought to the brink of bankruptcy. Nasia's decision to stop then most likely saved the company. Nasia consulted the wider family for ideas and ultimately decided to refocus the company on what got it there. After years of subtly tweaking their products, Nasia reverted several of the best-known products to Greg's original designs. Called the Generations Collection, the company also launched a famous marketing campaign that featured modern workers wearing one of the pieces next to a photo of family members wearing the same items decades or even centuries earlier. This return to the basics, alongside market forces that saw several competitors consolidate or even shutter, led to a rebound for the brand and the company and family's fortunes. Centuries after its founding, you'd be hard-pressed to find a work site where someone wasn't wearing Stegman's. Yet the company's impact extends beyond the industrial sector. While the company made its name with hard hats, safety glasses, uniforms, and more, the comfort, durability, and rugged aesthetic of their clothes has made it popular for everyday wear. Whether at a landing zone, a job site, or aboard a ship, there's always a chance somebody nearby will be wearing Stegman's. And of course, it will be tough, durable, and comfortable. Alright, thank you for sticking around for this little read. I have a lot of fun with these. I know they're not the most popular, but I love them. So let me know what you think. This is actually really exciting. I've learned a lot of new things trying to read through this and build out a little bit of a script. You will notice if you actually read along, I do change a lot in these. Nothing that is lore related, but just the turns of wording, the way sentences are written. To my doppelganger on the lore team for this one, you used Empire twice in like the same sentence. It really made it hard to read. And some of the names, as always, are a challenge, but I welcome that challenge. It's always fun to have the really exciting, exotic names. And I'd like to think that the names also are system related. So I'm kind of excited about that. I've noticed a few trends, really basic stuff like pirates tend to use simple nicknames, but the actual names of people seem to change based on the areas they're from. That might be me reading into it, but I had some fun with this. Stegman's clothing is actually really cool. I think with more and more equipment, hopefully getting holstered in the future, as a practical measure, I would like to see the ability to carry a multi-tool on Stegman's clothing. Those hard hats actually having some serious damage resistances and other things like that. But I think that's all going to be ironed out in the future. I do see a place for the clothing. I do think it's a great thing. And it's always wonderful to see variety, different flavors of people, and also have clothing at work. And it's very affordable stuff. That's something else I've seen. I think for one dress shirt, you can get quite a lot of Stegman's gear, which is quite nice. So, yeah, great story. I love the family aspects. I love both of them working together. Uh, Fantastic. So, once again, thanks again for putting this together. This was a CIG created lore written post, to be clear, that I simply dramatically reread and changed a few of the turns of phrase to make it easier to read and more attention getting. To make it a captivating story to read. So just remember that. It's not that the story isn't written poorly, it's just when you change something to spoken word, it needs to be changed a little bit. And I am far from efficient at this. It is 8:30 at night my time, just hitting, and I was kind of waiting for this to come out. So I've been waiting a couple hours, checking here and there to see if it'll pop up. And I'm glad it finally came up. All right, it's going to do it for this one. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you know anyone who likes these, please share it. It's greatly appreciated. That's it. That's my whole pitch. And I wish you all a great night. Fly safe.